Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nonsense Retrospective. Today, I'm joined, as always, by Devon.
Bear, seek, lest.
And as always, I am Rick. We're going to start with our time-honoured tradition of the nonsense, asinine hypotheticals.
Okay, we kind of had this discussion the other day, Rick, but I want to elaborate a bit on it on the podcast, and it's relevant, so that's always fun. As we know, you could take the Soulsborne mechanics or system and pretty much put any genre over it, and the game would be interesting. So my question to you, Rick, is, out of all the genres that have not been tackled and made into a Soulsborne-esque game, what genre would you most like to see?
I think we've all wanted to see a Space Souls. We talked about Star Wars the other day and how they did the Jedi Fallen Order, and that if you'd had the lightsaber be anything other than a lightsaber, it'd be fine. If it was a claymore that had a monomolecular edge that you had to replace with resources, it'd be fine, because you have to cut through a big old monster's blubber, and if you're doing it through a guy, then you just goes through their head. But yeah, Space Souls in general, whether it be something like Star Wars that's a space opera and you go to different planets, or one where you do it almost entirely on a Space Hulk / super space station, like a Dead Space kind of thing.
Dude, I think we said before, well, you said it before and I instantly agreed with you. Fucking get the fucking Warhammer IP and do a fucking Souls-like game. Like, they've got the Gene Seed bullshit, that's how you get your souls back. Boom, sorted.
Yeah. And it works even easier for Chaos.
Yeah, Chaos works.
Because Chaos aren't always... Okay, they are always bad guys, but sometimes they're pointed against other things as well, like Chaos versus Tyranids.
Chaos versus Orcs, Chaos versus Tau. Although, let's be honest, if you're in the Warhammer 40k universe, Tau is probably the safest placed people to live with, even though they are evil.
Partially because they don't have that big of a psychic signature, so they're not quite as easy to possess.
But it's also the fact that, yeah, the system is very, crippling and restrictive, but they take care of you. Whereas in the Imperium of Man, you are a resource from the second you're born, and that sucks.
Now, I do have another one for you, but I do think this is a good question, so I'm going to turn it back on you. Do you have a different answer to me?
I mean, no, I think space is great. I even threw in the fucking Warhammer 40k.
So my actual question for you is another one that we kind of touched on the last Dark Souls one, when you asked me about a weapon style that you'd want to learn IRL. I'm going to take it a little step further and say, if you had a magic style from the Souls series that you could learn, what would it be?
So by magic style, do you mean it has to be miracle, hex, or sorcery?
Yeah, a school of magic from miracle, hex, sorcery. If you wanted to break it down a little bit further, you could do like...
If it was just magic in general, I'd say illusion, but it's not. It's Dark Souls magic, so it's probably going to have to be sorcery, because you've got access to the damaging stuff, and you've also got access to the Ulasil spells, which are purely functional.
Yeah, they're functional, they're tricksy. Like, if there's any illusion spell, it's probably from the Ulasil branch.
No, it's probably from the Vinheim branch, because they're assassins, aren't they?
Is it? Okay.
Ulasil is stuff like repair and cast light.
Okay. I thought they had the one where you turn into a box, but that might have started in Dark Souls 2.
Chameleon is a fucking weird spell that's kind of a bastard. I'm pretty sure it's from Vinheim. Like you were saying with the sparkly sorceries, those are all Ulasil. Sorcery seems to take up the vast majority of magic, as it were.
Yeah, overall it does, yeah. But yeah, as we have previewed, Bear Seek Lest, we're talking about Dark Souls 2. Now, we covered it last time, but with a previous experience. When I got into Dark Souls 2, it was after Dark Souls 3 was already out, so by the time I got it, it was already a vintage game, but when you got it, it was brand new.
And I've looked at your cue card, and I've seen a bunch of stuff that you've sort of complained about and brought up, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to tell him how bad it was in Vanilla Souls 2.
So here's the thing, I've only ever played the Scholar of the First Sins remix, which was released on the PS4 as well, I believe. Yeah, around the time that Bloodborne came out, they brought out the Scholar of the First Sin, and yeah, that's the version that I played. I don't even think it was that long after the original game either.
No, because Dark Souls 2 came out on the PS3 originally. It was at least a year.
They had the time in which they were releasing the DLC.
Maybe. It's been a while.
The game opens with 3 old women laughing at you. They're daring you to remember what you looked like before you became a green zombie. They tell you you're going to die over and over again, lose your souls a lot, and by the time you reach the mid-game, you won't even know why.
Dark Souls 2 probably has the weakest opening out of the Soulsborne games, based solely on the fact that they tried to do something different and something new, but all they did was they relied on the Dark Souls is hard shit, so they pounded it into you at the beginning, like, this game's hard, you're gonna die, fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely. The other games, they don't do that. They just show you a hard game, throw you into the hard game, let you die to realize, yeah, maybe I should be a bit more careful. Whereas Dark Souls 2 is like, oh yeah, it's hard, and then they throw you some little bits of bullshit to begin with. Like, one of the first enemies you meet is one of the hippos. If it grabs you, your head's gone.
Yeah, and that never changes unless you pump just HP and you're wearing super heavy armor by the time you encounter it. If it grabs you, you're a dead man.
Yeah. The default is you're a man, as you can tell by the fact that before before character creation, if you take your clothes off, you're a male green hollow.
Well, bear in mind, in the world of Dark Souls 2, gender has actually no meaning, because all you need to do is go into this magical coffin and boom.
Oh yeah, there is the transgender coffin. You just have the same sliders for the opposite gender, and you just come back as that other person. If you do it over and over again, then you end up with a monstrosity of yourself.
You see, as cool as having something like that in real life would be awesome for people who have issues with their gender identity, I still don't know why it exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess it's just there for, I don't know, did you fuck up and forget to change your gender? Here, take this. It's baffling. I don't know why it's there.
Yep. It's so weird. It's kind of in a weird place as well. You need some weird resource to unlock the way to get down there, and then there's like 2.5 mini bosses there before you get into it. It's just odd.
Well, you've got 2 hippos and a pursuer.
Yeah.
That's not an easy fucking combo of enemies to take on, although if you have a bow and arrow, it's piss.
Especially with poison arrows.
If you really want to cheese them, go sorcerer.
True. But yeah, the little tutorial bit you have after this is kind of optional. You can go down these little side paths and get told what the controls are, which, let's be honest, if you get that far, you probably know what half of them are anyway. Or you can just alpha strike it straight for Majula, which I'd say is probably the best hub so far in Souls.
You see, I saw this on your notes, and I rate it as number 2. I think Firelink from DS1 just inches it out.
Sure, because yeah, I see what you mean with Firelink, where you get back to Firelink in certain ways. Like, sometimes when you go in a certain direction, you go on a big old loop. You don't realize you're on a loop until you start hearing the noise and the music of Firelink Shrine, whereas you never hear that with Majula. You always go out from Majula, you never go back to it.
That's part of it. It works for its favour, it feeling like a little rundown village, but Firelink felt like a genuine gathering of adventurers.
Yeah, it just so happened to be the big bonfire that people gathered around. And that's the thing. I do like the rundown village that people could have lived in the past and are beginning to live in again in the present, and the music is chill as well.
The music is probably my favourite track from Dark Souls, full stop. Like, yeah, there's a lot more heart-racing, pounding, exciting music, but when you hear Majula's theme, my brain just goes, I'm safe.
Well, that's the thing, though. Apologies to anybody who wrote music for Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1, but the thing that sticks in my mind most from any of them is probably Majula's theme. I can't think of any other theme from Dark Souls 2, more or less. Oh, apart from the opening, like, splash logo.
Oh, God, it's awful, and that's partly to blame on whoever calibrated the fucking sound settings.
Yeah. Like, there are more things that stick with me out of Dark Souls 1 and 3, but out of 2, yeah, Majula is the one. But yeah, early game, in a flip on Dark Souls 1, you have 4 paths to go down, which in Dark Souls 1, that wasn't until mid-game at least. You've got a semi-major boss at the end of each one. You've got the Lava Demon guy, the Sword guy with the Pyromancer buddies, the Magic Spider, and the Poison guy.
Okay, I know you're using guy in the general sense, but
the Sword guy with the Pyromancer buddies is a Sword lady with the Pyromancer buddies, and the Pyromancer buddies I don't think even show up until New Game Plus.
That is correct, but it's a very important detail that she is, well, because she has inherited the soul of the
Witch of Izalith.
Yeah, there we go. Like, she could not have done that if she was a man.
They even touch on that in Dark Souls 1, that men are just inherently not as good at pyromancy as the women.
I mean, case in point, out of all of the Witch of Izalith's children, only one was a man, and he was shit. He was so shit that he needed a ring to stop him from oozing constant pus and being in pain, which his sisters very generously gave him, and then he dropped it like a prick.
Yep, because he's an idiot.
When you see the monstrosity he's become, it doesn't look like he has hands, so...
No. He couldn't even wear it. But yeah, you go down these 4 paths, you beat 4 major bosses, and then you can open up a gate.
Out of those 4 bosses, who's your favourite?
Probably the Iron King, because I think it's a cool boss fight. Like, in terms of feeling like a boss fight rather than just a big dude, it feels like a thing that is an actual boss rather than just a bloke.
I personally lean more towards the Lost Sinner because I find the lore very interesting.
Totally.
And it's the only one out of the 4 that has an actual direct visual connection with the boss they're trying to mimic.
Yeah, with
the little bug.
The bug of sin going into her eye, which is a really gross visual, by the way. And I always skip the cutscene every time because I don't want to see the bug go into her eye.
It's also not just a visual, because as soon as the bug disappears from view, she fucking howls with anguish or pain. We can't tell which. I'm going to assume it's pain.
Yeah, a combination of both. There is a secondary method, though. If you don't feel like killing all 4 of the super great ones, then you can just collect 1,000,000 souls, which is probably harder, and power through the barrier on your own.
Okay, it's harder in your first playthrough. In New Game Plus cycles, it's actually piss.
Yeah.
I've platinumed all of the Souls games. Don't mean to toot my own horn. It's something I did because I wanted to. And it's not a hard thing to do. You just need to get all the fucking spells. That's the actual annoying part. But yeah, to get all of the spells and miracles, you need to either reach rank 3 in both PvP covenants, which no, or you can go to New Game Plus 2 and buy those spells from Welliger. I beat the game on New Game Plus, and then on New Game Plus 2, I was like, I can't be bothered. So before going into New Game Plus 2, I used every single bonfire aesthetic I had to grind the Iron King, and just popped all of those souls when I got to New Game Plus 2 and went straight to Welliger and boom, platinum.
Yeah, sweet.
But yeah, in New Game Plus cycles, when you have bonfire aesthetics, getting 1 million souls is quite easy. Also, each New Game Plus cycle adds 1 million to the total you need. So if you're a New Game Plus 1, you need 2 million. In Plus 2, you need 3, so on and so forth.
Yeah, here's the part where in my little mini script I go on a tangent how this actually feels a lot more like Demon Souls in my opinion. That you've got your central waifu who gives you a lot of the lore. You've got the 4 pathways that some of them have roadblocks where if you've got the preparation and you know what you're doing, then you can get over them no problem. But if you're a brand new person, then they are actual speed bumps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, they're super spread apart. Like if you're going down one path, you're not getting on one of the other paths unless you go back to the hub and go the other way.
I really do like that method of level design though.
Yeah, the sprawling spider rather than the interlinked web.
But I'm also one of these people who, you know how loads of people really rant and rave about open world games? I don't like open world games. I like having structure and having levels. If you throw me into a game and say do what you want, I'm like, what's the goal?
The best part of a lot of open world games isn't the open world, it's the designed dungeons, which are the opposite of open world. They're closed circuits. Like in Breath of the Wild, they've only really got 4 dungeons. They're all the Great Beasts. And when you're in them, it's a closed circuit, they've got the gimmick, and they're generally the best designed parts of the game.
I can't talk. Sorry, guys, I don't like Legend of Zelda games.
Just think of Genshin, but you know, those story dungeons.
Those are shit.
They're better than just walking to a place and hitting a guy.
Yeah, I get you.
Imagine that, but better.
I think that's why I like Dragon Age so much, you know, because it's that fine line of, yes, you've got open areas to explore, but you've got things, you're there for a specific purpose.
Yeah, there is a world map, but every zone you go to is designed.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Like that's a big problem with a lot of open world, is some of it is semi-procedurally generated. Like it's already the map, but when they were making it, I can't imagine them putting every single rock in every single place. Like they did apparently do that for The Witcher 3.
Yeah, but fucking CD Projekt's insane.
Yeah, they are. Back when people liked them.
I've never liked them, but that's also because they've always done crunch and they've been proud of it, and that's kind of a sticking point for me.
True.
The only time I let crunch slide is if it's an indie developer where there's 3 guys and they're all passionate about the project and it's theirs. That's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because some corporate businessman says this game needs to be out by the 3rd quarter. Oh, fuck, I'm mad now.
Anyway, we'll step away from our little tangent and back onto Drangleic Castle. That's where you get to after this barrier. It's the beginning of the second half of the game. It's the Anor Londo of Dark Souls 2. The castle itself is mostly easy, but they've got a gatekeeper boss at the end of it, the Mirror Knight. The Mirror Knight itself isn't too tough in and of itself, but it can summon invaders. Normally NPCs, but if anyone's trying to invade in that area, then they have a chance to get summoned as one of the boss's minions, which I think is really cool.
It's really cool, which is why I'm really fucking disappointed that only happens in New Game Plus.
Does it actually only happen in New Game Plus?
In the normal base game, you will always fight NPCs.
Oh, that's sad.
In New Game Plus, you got a chance of being invaded, but who the fuck is, doing that in New Game Plus?
Plus, obviously, there's the easy way of, if you just play offline, then you're not going to get actual human invaders.
Or be hollow.
Isn't that a thing in this? Because I know you can be invaded while you're hollow normally.
You're absolutely correct. I forgot that Dark Souls 2 is the fucking weird bastard child, and being hollow doesn't matter.
Yeah, the only way to stop getting invaded is to have completed the zone.
And even then, that's only for half hour.
Yeah.
Or you can burn in a human effigy.
Oh, yeah, you can. You can sacrifice the one resource that you have that makes your health go back up, because, yeah, when you die, your health goes down, which is another thing that reminds me of Demon Souls.
Even worse than that is, bear in mind, when you've got that effect active, that counts both ways.
But yeah, they did this before with the old monk in Demon Souls, with being able to fight another player in boss form.
That's the reason why the staircase is so long and spiraled to get to the old monk, to load in the enemy. Little bit of fun fact for you guys.
Yeah, during Drangleic Castle you get the last of the 3 DLC keys, although the other 2 are a bit more difficult to find. This is the one that's easiest to find, but also the one that you have to get furthest into the game before you get it.
Now, here's the weird thing, right? Because in Scholar of the First Sin, they had to put those keys in the game in places. If I recall correctly, if you bought the DLC for the base game, you just had the keys. I could be misremembering. If they did put them in the game for you to find, they did put them in different spots that were easier to find because you paid for that shit.
I think it's one of those, as soon as you logged into your character, it just gave you the item received thing of, and it just popped up on your screen and it was in your inventory then.
And likewise, if you created a brand new character, it was just in your inventory from the get-go. Which is a bit awkward because, hey, those areas aren't meant to be done as soon as you get to them.
No.
Not saying you can't.
Oh, yeah. You can get at least some amount of progress in them very easily anyway. Like, obviously people have done Soul Level 1 runs and it is possible. But yeah, you can go into the DLCs at this point, but they're kind of considered endgame. But to be fair, at this point, you're kind of at the semi-endgame point anyway. If you've not got a build right now, you're doing something wrong.
Bear in mind, this game did the magical thing of introducing a magical item that you could use.
Oh yes, it's the first in the season to have a respec.
Which, man, thank fuck.
Dark Souls 1 was really bad for it because it had a couple of weapons that required certain amounts of stats in certain things. And if you didn't like that weapon, then you probably wasted about 40 stat points.
Now, here's the thing. Do you want to hear the real fuck about the item that lets you rejigger your stats?
Go ahead.
If you use that item, it gets rid of all your levels.
Oh boy.
That's what I've been told. I've never actually used it because I don't want to find out. But if you use a soul vessel from your inventory, it gets rid of all your souls and it gets rid of all your levels, and you have to start from base.
I've never used one. I've only ever given one to one of the ladies.
Next time we play Dark Souls 2, I might have to actually test that. Maybe it's just some bullshit someone said on the internet and people just took it as fact because they don't want to try it.
After the castle is my most hated zone, the Toho Shrine Bullet Hell.
Okay. Do you want to hear some fun stuff?
Were there even more of them in base game?
This zone has been nerfed to fuck so many times because people were so fucking mad at it when it first dropped.
Yep.
The magic missiles that they fired more frequently and they tracked better.
I think this is the one place in the game where I managed to show you something as well.
What did you show me?
There was one of those gaping keystone holes in the ground that opens up a wall thing to a chest with a spear with a pike in it. I think it's a poison spear. When you jab it with the R2, it opens up the spear into an additional spike.
I believe that was in the rat area.
I think normally it was, and then they put it in Scholar. There's one of the Rat Covenant keystones in the ground under the water in this zone. Another part of what sucks about this zone is that you can't even dodge half the time because you fear of falling in the fucking bottomless water.
You have this, but I guess because I've played Souls 2 beforehand, I'm a bit more used to it. I've never worried about falling into the deep ends. You can kind of see where the deep ends are.
You can if you're looking down, but if you're looking down, you're not looking up.
Here's the thing, audio cues.
Yeah, true. It's also a lot easier if you're using a torch.
It's also a lot harder because it gets all those little dog fuckers to charge you.
It does. You got a bit of risk reward with this. And then here's another thing with the torch. This is one of the areas where it's not a dark area, but a torch helps. The next zone is the crypt, which is also a dark zone, but you don't need a torch quite as much.
You definitely shouldn't have a torch.
Yeah, you even get told by one of the few friendly NPCs, don't bring light in here, we don't like it.
Here's a fun one. If you get summoned into someone else's world and you have a torch in their world and you get summoned back, game doesn't care, they fuck you.
Oh boy, that's a thing.
Man, if you want to talk about enemy placement changes, that fucking zone also got a big revamp on its enemy placement.
Okay.
You know all those Dark Sphere sorcerer ladies? Yeah, they weren't there.
Okay.
And the shield bros holding the door shields, they weren't actually blocking paths before, they were just existing.
Okay. Yeah, they're a lot cooler now that they're blocking a path.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
And yeah, you got a chance of getting those shields from them, and they've got a unique power stance.
I love how they basically threw that in because of the gimmick builds they saw from 1.
Yeah, that's a new thing in Dark Souls 2, where if you're dual-wielding certain weapons, you can get a semi-unique dual-wield animation style.
Assuming that you've got 1.5 stats.
Yeah, 1.5 the highest of whatever both is. At the end of the crypt is a bonus boss, which you probably can't fight right now. We'll come back to him after looting his pile of discarded clothes.
For a ring, of all things.
Yeah, it's a key to the end game. Now, if I remember correctly, you can just alpha strike the final boss at this point.
No, you can't.
Can you not?
You can't do Nashandra until after you've done... I forget the boss.
Is it one of the memories?
Yeah, I believe so. You need to have the Kinship of Giants.
Okay, so the Kinship of Giants is the one from the giant boss in the giant memories. Oh yeah, so you just need that, and then you can just come back and fight Nashandra brother.
Except it's not that simple, because you need to get the thing that lets you go into memories, and that's in Dragon Eyrie.
Yep.
Behind a King Ring door, funny enough.
Yeah, if you go to the actual end game at this point is you have to go through the former King's Brothers lab. Semi-castle, but also not really a castle of Aldia.
I'd describe it as a mansion.
You go through his lab, play with the pets, and then you go through a lift that makes no sense.
Are we going to ignore Dickface McDick?
Lucatiel's brother.
No, Navlan.
Oh, he's a assassin slash psychopath who's been imprisoned in there, and he gives you a bunch of side quests if you are hollow.
Or you can let him loose and ruin your gaming experience.
Yeah, he will murder everyone you care about.
No, just you.
Okay.
It's really weird, isn't it? Because you let him out, he doesn't do his fucking hit list. He just invades you in like 5 different locations, and he's a bit of a fuck. Because spellcaster enemies in this game suck. Because unlike humans, they don't run out of fucking spell slots. A legitimate tactic when fighting an invader who is a spellcaster is to wait for them to run out of spells and then beat the shit out of them. But you can't do that against NPCs.
After Aldia's mansion, you got the Land of the Dragons.
One of my favourite explanations for the geography not making sense in Dark Souls 2 is the character going hollow.
Okay.
So they don't actually remember stints of their journey.
Sure. So the world is bigger than it actually is, and it's just we're appreciating it a more condensed and abridged way.
Pretty much, yes. It's clearly what happened was the developers didn't pay as much care as they did when dealing with 1 and maps. But I'm willing to accept the hand wave, especially when it leads to the coolest area design-wise in the game.
Oh, it's got a very good establishing shot. As soon as you get there, it's just, yeah, here be dragons.
Hey, you know that boss you killed 2 seconds ago weren't shit?
Yeah, loads of them live here. You can basically skip this zone, and you're probably expected to, but you can go through it later for fun and goodies.
You could go through it now, you just got to do it backwards.
Yeah, true.
Also, in the base game, that wasn't an option. You had to go through the whole thing and then zipline back to get the shortcut. But yeah, when you come to this area here, right next to the bonfire's a ladder, go up that, zone skip. It feels like the zone in Scholar is literally designed to just give you upgrade materials in case you fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to a degree. But yeah, the end of the next zone, which has a nice little mechanic of if you are honourable and fight the one guy that you're meant to fight, then the other enemies that are standing guard don't join in. And if you're in multiplayer, that's counted as not honourable, so the other guys join in.
Pretty sure you can still go through normally on multiplayer.
Okay.
We've done it.
Yeah, but also, don't the big guys join in as well?
The big guys are who you're meant to fight.
Oh yeah, the big guys are who you're meant to fight. The little guys, I think they join in as soon as you try going in with an extra guy, though. When you get to the end, there's the Elder Dragon at the end, and he's nice enough to give you the thing that lets you go into memories, and you can fight him, but he's bullshit, so we never do.
The old way to cheese this boss was to use the assassin ring thing.
Okay.
You know the thing that prevents backstabs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you equip that ring, and every time he goes up to do his mega bullshit fire attack that one hit kills most people, you turn your back on him.
Is that the one where you've literally got a ghost on your back?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. They made it so it breaks in this version, I think, don't they?
I don't think it breaks.
Like, it absorbs a certain amount of damage and then breaks.
I couldn't tell you, I don't use the damn thing because it's so useless.
But yeah, you get a choice of a bunch of giant souls that you can get at this point. Some of them are in memories.
I mean, let's be honest, Rick, all of them are in memories except 2.
Sure. One of them is from this Elder Dragon, who may not actually be an actual Elder Dragon. He might have been made by Aldia.
He's not an Elder Dragon, he has a giant soul instead of a dragon soul.
Yeah, another one is from 2 giants who live underground who are guarding one of the DLC keys. And if you collect all of them, or most of them, then it makes the bonus boss we talked about earlier a little bit easier.
I've never been clear because there's conflicting sources. Either every soul you get halves his defense or halves his HP. Doesn't really matter because both, they're both affected numbers that do the same thing, basically.
It halves the amount of hits that you need to kill him. But this bonus boss is King Vendrick himself, and it kind of makes sense that, yeah, he's imprisoned in a crypt underneath the castle. He's the former king of Drangleic. He failed to become the perfect monarch, and he went hollow. And he's here wandering about. He's almost literally just a giant hollow.
I love the implication that if you fought Vendrick in his prime, you wouldn't stand a goddamn chance.
If you don't have the giant souls, then he's got so much health and defense that even being a shitty hollow, he's probably going to kill you, because he does a lot of damage.
Yeah, but at the same time, just stand behind him. But yeah, I feel like we're glossing over the fact that the only reason Vendrick went to live and eventually go hollow in the crypt is he found out his wife is evil as fuck.
Oh yeah, she totally is.
And the best way to avoid her getting her hands on the sovereignty of the land is to leave, because without him, she doesn't have any power. So much so that both the Watcher and Defender and Mirror Knight are canonically stronger than Nashandra.
Yeah, and probably Velstadt as well.
Well, we wouldn't know, would we? Because she can't even get past Mirror.
Yep. It's a weird one that one of her echoes/sisters has a pet Velstadt.
It's not though, is it? Because they're made out of sludge. It's just, I feel like she just summoned something she thought looked strong.
But yeah, one of the things you do on the way to getting these souls is my favourite part of the game. The Forest of Fallen Giants becomes one of the endgame zones where you get to see the human-giant war that led to the world becoming entirely fucked up the way that it is right now. You get to enter individual memories of fallen giants, and it's cinematic as hell. It's my favourite part of the game. I'm not even going to lie.
It wasn't like that in the base game. In the base game, you just had giants blocking your path forward. There was no war going on around you. It was really lame.
Oh, so yeah, that's another one of the things that it was such a big improvement that I didn't even notice how big an improvement it was, and it's still my favourite part. The only caveat of these is you've got a time limit for each trip down memory lane that you can only rest within a memory for so long.
Which is a great line.
Yeah, and then there's another sidetrack we can do to the DLCs. They're all minor reflections of the game's tragedy. You got shitty destroyed kingdoms fallen from grace because of the machinations of their wayward queens. They're all sisters of Nashandra herself.
Well, that's not entirely true, because one of them got there after the shit went down. In fact, two of them got there after the shit went down.
Fair. I think the last one is one that, yeah, shit went bad, and she's the only good one. They're all Crown of the Ex-King. The crowns themselves are the things that you hunt down by completing the DLCs, and they're all relatively cool crowns that you can wear, but when you've got them all, you get a super bonus. The DLCs were all directed by Yui Tanimura, and he's the guy that brought Dark Souls 2 together from the little stitchy bits of crap Studio had been making and kind of couldn't assemble into a real game. And he was given the freedom and tools to make things from the ground up, and these are the bits that you get to see the guy shine as a director.
And you can tell he did well because Miyazaki didn't touch them in Scholar.
Oh, totally. So the first one of these is Crown of the Sunken King. It's a poison area that I super duper hate.
Yeah, poison's never a fun gimmick.
No, puts your life on a timer. The enemies here suck and you can't stagger them, but I actually think the scenery is oddly beautiful.
It's very nice. I don't think we've ever seen a ziggurat in Souls before.
Oh yeah, totally. In the same way that tarnished bronze turning green is kind of neat, like this entire area is that. The gimmick of the area is you've got buttons and pillars that you can hit to rotate parts of the zone, basically making a physical area puzzle. You raise, lower, rotate parts of the level, and it just generally feels more like an RPG than a lot of the game has till this point.
Yeah, it also sucks though.
True, but you know.
It is a very unique take in that you're starting at the top of a ziggurat and keep going down. It's like the opposite of what most people would do.
But yeah, the boss at the end is the Squalid Queen.
Yeah, I don't like her boss fight. It really is a downer.
Man, the first time I fought it, I got the pig.
Oh, yeah, cool. Keep that shit alive and then the fight's piss.
Yeah. She's got a chance of summoning skeletons, a boss from earlier in the game, or a pig, and the pig is pissed. After you beat her, you see the bullshit toxic dragon that you've seen a couple of times throughout the level, and you get to fight him now properly. Sin. And he's bullshit, and he will test any weapon's durability.
Yeah, it's really not good. It was really poorly thought out.
Yeah, you need repair powder for this fight, or like 4 weapons. But yeah, your prize after beating Sin is the Crown of the Sunken King.
Don't you also get Yorg's ring?
You do. And you can also get Yorg's spear.
Transmute the soul, yeah.
Which is a really weird spear because it's got like 5 different movesets all mashed into one. Which
that spear's only purpose is to be a fucking in PvP.
Yeah. Next one is the Iron King.
This is an example of one of the queens that arrived too late.
I never actually knew the lore of the queen here. You see her machinations in the fact that her soul is split into many parts, and that's part of the gimmick of the zone. There are these idols scattered around the place that make enemies invincible at worst or regenerate at best, and you destroy these with some like super spikes that you get. You get like 1 to begin with, and then you get more as you go through the zone. And when you finally got all of them, that's when you can transpose the souls at Ornifex just down the road. And I think the zone is the more generic of the 3, but by the same token, it feels more like the other parts of the game.
Yeah, but at least it's got an excuse because you're visiting the kingdom that you've already visited.
Yeah, totally. It's the kingdom of the Iron King, who is a person we've already fought. The place that we went to was more like an outpost / bastion / keep part of his kingdom rather than the heart of it. And yeah, we get to fight a bunch of optional bosses here if you like. I think this has got the most optional bosses out of the DLCs.
It's got 2.
Yeah, you got Sir Alon and you've got the Blue Smelter Demon.
Case in point, I don't think you can actually fight Alon until you've beaten Raim.
Yeah, fair enough.
Man, I find it weird how I call that dude Raim when he's called the Foom Knight.
Yeah.
Before the DLC was even a fucking idea on the wind, you find that motherfucker's shield all the way in Forest of the Fallen Giant, and it just straight up says he discarded his shield when he was kicked out by Velstadt.
Yeah, there's even a little hidden mechanic in that fight where if you put Velstadt's hat on, then he just goes mental and he goes straight into his upgraded phase 2.
My favourite part of that is you can cut it either way. Either he is so enraged at the thought of his brother that he goes berserk and goes all out, or, because you're not Velstadt, you're not big enough to be Velstadt, he is so enraged at the idea of someone other than him killing his brother.
Yeah, it works either way. As always, it's ambiguous because you never get to speak to the bosses apart from, Priscilla. But yeah, the last of the 3 is the Ivory King, and this is the Snow Zone.
I have a love-hate relationship with this zone.
Yeah, because it's the easiest one to get to because you don't have to go out of your way for a key. It's the first one that I ever tried.
Oh no.
I know, right? By the same token, if you fight enough of the guys, you can get one of the coolest and most OP weapons for a shitty dex build in the game, the Ice Rapier.
Oh, you like that shit, don't you?
Yeah, especially since I'm a poo babby dex build.
I ain't got nothing against dex builds, it's just I like swinging less and hurting more. Do you want to talk about our experience at Dark Souls 2 last night where I kept missing enemies with my hammer?
If you count the wall as an enemy, then you have 100% strike rate.
I didn't hit the wall, I hit the ground. Don't fucking make me sound even worse than I was. I'm gonna quickly apologise right here because you might be able to hear my dogs in the background.
So the gimmick of the Ivory King area is that there are some invisible things, including the first gatekeeper boss. You can go straight into it and try and fight it while it's invisible, but it's damn near impossible.
And yeah, I bet you speedrunners do that.
I don't even know how you do it. It's not even like Priscilla where you can see the footprints in the zone.
I couldn't tell you, man. I'm not doing that shit. What's the point in making yourself struggle for no reason?
But you can go through the zone to get the thing to see invisible things, which also includes phantom enemies from earlier in the game.
Which, fun fact, didn't exist in the base game.
Did they not?
No, that zone was entirely filled with lion warriors.
Okay. Man, yeah, having invisible people in the fog is...
Oh, sorry, in the fog bit, yeah, those exist. Those constantly spawn. But in the bit afterwards where all you've got in your way is invisible dudes, there was lion warriors.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, there's also some allied knights that you can free around the zone that help you in the final boss. And when you get to the final zone of that place, the queen is there and you can talk to her. She thanks you when you free the other knights and just generally cements her place as the good one of the four sisters.
There are 2 ways to get that woman's soul. One of them is pure evil.
Yeah, it is. And it's how you get one of the most interesting, unique curved swords in the game as well. It's the Elium Lois sword, named after the zone that she's from.
I see, I've never even gotten within an arse's whisper of doing it because I'm not grinding out 700 knights. And I'm not going to kill her because I'm not evil.
I did it on the PlayStation because I thought if there's any place where I'm going to be pushed into not cheating, it's going to be the PlayStation where I can't cheat. But yeah, once you go down the pit, any of the allied knights that you freed go with you, and you fight the Ivory King and a very long stream of respawning burnt knights, and they turn themselves into ice and break the mirrors that the burnt knights come from.
Well, they freeze them.
So yeah, once you've got all 3 crowns, you can go to Vendrick's memory and get a super crown, which stops you from hollowing when you die.
I thought you got his crown from where his soul was, and it just became imbued with that power after you got the Ivory.
I think you need to visit the memory to do it, though.
No, I'm sure you do. I'm just saying you don't get the crown from Vendrick.
Vendrick's crown is in the Shrine of Amana.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm on about.
You got to get all 3 from the DLC, and then the 4th one's from the Shrine of Amana, which you also need the ring from Vendrick to go get into, because it's one of these sealed by the King's door, isn't it?
Nope, once you've killed Vendrick, the area is accessible, and you have to be human for it to let you in, which is another way that he tried to attempt to prevent Nashandra from getting his soul and becoming sovereign.
Yeah, because she was not only hollow as hell, she actively caused hollowing by being near her. Even the painting of her in Drangleic Castle, if you stand in front of it, you get cursed.
Bear in mind, all of these rulers are fragments of Manus, which is a being of pure darkness, guys.
But yeah, if you get the super crown, well, it's any crown that you wear at that point, you no longer hollow on death, which is cool, but also there's not that many things to fight after that.
The thing it's for is if you're trying to do the co-op exclusive bosses.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which you can do solo, don't get me wrong, it's just those bosses were specifically designed for co-op.
Yeah, like Luden Zalen. Sure, I made you do, I'm sorry.
I didn't want to fucking do it. I didn't give a fuck. They don't give me anything I want.
But yeah, the last thing you fight, you've probably fought the Throne Watcher and Defender before this. You could do it earlier, but they are in the same boss room as Nashandra, the Queen of Drangleic, the first of the 4 ruinous queens, if you start by counting with her, and Aldir himself, if you're in Scholar of the First Sin.
If you guys want to see a really funny death.
Yeah, a little bit of a shout out. If you want to watch a really funny death, go watch the end of Dev's series on Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, and yeah. Yeah, if you beat Aldir, you get more choices of endings. One of the things you can do after doing Aldir is walk away, which is something you couldn't do in the original. So yeah, you can walk away and leave the world to deal with having to live without cycles of dark and fire, or you can take the throne yourself, which it kind of implies that you link the fire from within that super kiln throne, or you live forever. We don't know.
You're definitely getting used to relight the fire.
Yeah, so you choose your ending and the credits roll. The other thing you can do from here is go into New Game Plus, which is something that Dark Souls 2 does incredibly better than Dark Souls 1. You've got remixed enemy placements, you've even got some unique enemies, like in the first area, the Falconer Knights actually have falcons.
And also, unlike Dark Souls 1, it doesn't just fucking boot you straight into New Game.
Yeah, you can go back to Majula and do things that you've missed. I think the idea behind that was that they were already planning to let you go into DLC, so they let you have a completed game state where you could just go straight into the DLC from there. Now we're getting to our final segment. Do you have a favourite moment?
My favourite moment, even though it's kind of ruined by the fact that it's New Game Plus exclusive, is when a goddamn boss fucking attacks you out of nowhere on a cliff top on the way to the boss.
Oh, yeah! Spider waifu.
Unfortunately, this got spoilt to fuck for everybody, I believe. But, you know, if I was playing the game organically and that happened during a New Game Plus cycle, I would have freaked out.
Yep.
So I think that one's going to get it for me. So how about you, Rick? What's your favourite moment of Dark Souls 2?
The memories, because I think they are such a cool thing to add to a game. Like, one of the things I always say when you're seeing a story and you're getting told about cool things that happened in the past and you're thinking, why didn't we play that past thing? That sounds way cooler. This is the one time when you do actually get to see part of it, and so I think that deserves a big thumbs up from me.
Just to pile in on your little favourite moment there, I also think that very specifically the Alon duel tells us so much, and it's such a nice boss fight.
It's one of those, you get some really good organic storytelling through gameplay. But yeah, do you have an MVP?
It's going to be the Emerald Herald, I'm afraid. She supports you the entire way through the game. She levels you up, she upgrades your Estus. And I'll be honest with you, outside of Lucatil, she's probably the only waifu in the game that isn't trying to kill you. Looking at you, Lycia.
Yep.
And also Shannon Lott's a cat, and I don't want to fuck a cat.
No.
Rick, MVP, my friend.
For me, it's Yui Tanimura, the director, the one that brought everything back together. I half expected you to say this guy, which is why my second one was also the Emerald Herald, but she gives you most of the lore in the game. But yeah, this guy, he picked up the pieces from 6 different jigsaws and put them together into something mostly cohesive, and like we said when we talked about the DLC, when you give him the full freedom to make the thing that he wants to make, it's very cohesive, and like you say, it's the one thing that Miyazaki didn't want to touch when he was remixing. I think that draws us to a nice, neat little close. So, for all of you listening to us, you are our favourite people, and if you want to leave us a comment, we have our comment section on YouTube, and if you are listening to us on one of our audio platforms, you can always get to us by our email, which is nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, that's nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com, and I guess that's it. Goodbye from me.
Man, I really wanted to leave with an iconic quote from Dark Souls 2, but my mind's drawing a blank, so...
Bear seek lest.
Wow, I was just going to say bye.